In this video, I want to discuss my impressions of the Division 2 Open Beta. It's a Tom Clancy game. It's published by Ubisoft. Well, it will be published by Ubisoft when it's finished. And it's made by Massive Entertainment, who are a Swedish company. And they've done an amazing job with recreating Washington DC. It's incredibly detailed. The texturing and modelling work is fantastic. It's more than fantastic, it's phenomenal. The amount of detail is mind-blowing. Just like New York in the original game, it's just staggering what they've achieved. A nice big open area you can explore without loading screens, it all streams in. Now this does lead to a problem of some of the textures not resolving quickly enough. Like when they stream in, some of the textures are kind of low res. There's even signs, I couldn't read what it said. I had to shoot the sign and then it would actually load in the high res texture. But of course that can be fixed. Another thing I noticed was the physics were a bit funky sometimes, just like in the original. Nothing game breaking, but there was one part where there was some rocks floating in the air, and my mate Andy, he had the rocks on his version as well of the game, but they were in the car. But I was seeing them floating, and when I shot them they dropped. Just kind of funky little things like that. Again, no biggie, these things can be fixed. But I really loved the way the world feels. It feels alive. Like the weather effects are just amazing. Storms roll in, you get like thunder clouds above you, and with the fantastic audio it's so atmospheric. There's gunfire in the distance, animals are sort of re-encroaching into the city, like there was raccoons and deer running around and dogs, little rats that seem to go around in groups of two. I don't know why. I mean, one time me and Andy, we saw two little rats sitting on a car bonnet cleaning themselves, sunning themselves. It's just lovely to see that attention to detail. Now one thing I did notice in the original, there were people that were kind of scavenging, people that were starving, looking for food, and you could give them food. I didn't see that in the Division 2 beta. Hopefully they'll put that in. I thought there was a nice element, adds a bit of humanity to it. But all we actually saw was people roaming around with guns, different factions that we could sort of tackle. Just like in the original, the cover system worked quite well. I actually think it's better refined than the original. The movement is a bit more snappy as well, not as sluggish as the original. In the original, when you rolled, it was so slow. In the Division 2, rolling's much quicker now, and it just feels better. Now, obviously, it's beta code, it's not finished game code, but there was one bug that did really bother me. It's a sound bug. I'm sure it's perfectly fixable, but it really broke the immersion. In the heat of battle, when you've got lots of sound effects going off, it would just buckle the audio engine. Like certain sounds weren't playing. Even my gun wasn't firing. I couldn't hear my gun firing. You know, I could see the animations, it just wasn't firing, and it completely killed the immersion. So that's something they definitely got to get to the bottom of. Now, one of the biggest criticisms of the original Division was the bullet sponge nature of the enemies. And it didn't make any sense because they were humans. I mean, there was guys with baseball bats and hoodies running around that you took a whole clip of ammunition to kill them. And it just seemed a bit ridiculous. And it's a Tom Clancy game. It's supposed to be sort of realistic. And it made no sense. And it's hard to look past it. With something like Destiny, where there's aliens and they have shields, it sort of makes sense. But in the Division 2, they have definitely toned that down. Enemies, especially the lower level enemies, are easier to kill, and the higher level enemies have armor now, and you have to shoot the armor off and then you can kill them quickly. So it's still bullet sponge, but it makes more sense. It's more palatable. One of the things I really loved about the original was the snowstorms. When they rolled in, they really diminished visibility really dramatically, and it was really atmospheric. In Washington DC, you don't get the snow, but you do get rainstorms rolling in. And the rain looks fantastic. You see it dropping into pools of water on the floor. You see it bouncing off bonnets of the car. Everything has a lovely wet sheen to it. And I love the day and night cycle. Again, it creates a lovely atmosphere to the game, a really dynamic atmosphere. And one of the things I didn't like about the original was how all the NPC characters really suck up to you. It's like you're walking around and everyone's going, wow, you're so amazing, you're an agent, how wonderful, incredible to have you here. It was just so cheesy. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm English, but it really grated on me. I found it really annoying. And unfortunately, it's the same in Division 2. Now I did the 3 main missions in the beta, and I did the side missions as well, and I also did the Dark Zone mission where you open up the Dark Zone, and it's all really well done. There was variety there, a lot of thought had gone into trying to make the missions feel distinct. The story was woven into the missions nicely, so as long as they maintain that for the full game, I think it's going to be really good. Now I really liked the idea of the Dark Zone in the original Division. In the Division 2 there's actually 3 smaller Dark Zones, but they seem to work in the same way. You go into these contaminated areas where there are other people, so it's sort of a PvP element to the game, and you try and find loot and extract it before other people steal it from you. Now, one of the things I didn't like about the original is people would troll you in the Dark Zone. They would get high level gear, weapons and abilities and gang up on people trying to get into the Dark Zone. But one of the nice things about Division 2 is there's these machine guns by the entrances to the Dark Zone, and they will protect you. They will target rogue agents. So you can just wait for support, wait for other people to come into the Dark Zone, and then you can kill the rogue agents and then you can move in. So hopefully that will alleviate that problem. Another thing I didn't like about the Dark Zone, it was very easy to go rogue by accident. It's very easy to shoot another player by mistake, and some players would even deliberately go into a line of fire to make you go rogue. Fortunately, Massive have addressed that. Now you have to actually press a button to go rogue. You won't go rogue by accidentally shooting someone. Okay, so after everything I've said, you've probably guessed that I am really looking forward to the Division 2. I definitely want to play it. So you might think I'm probably pre-ordering it, counting the days until it's released, but I'm going to wait for the reviews. Now, in the original Division, it was great fun going through the story missions, leveling up, grinding out the gear. I mean, the gear itself, it didn't feel that impactful. It could have been better, the weapons could have been more distinct, but I still enjoyed it. But the real letdown was the incursions, the end game activities. Now I come from a Destiny background and I'm used to doing raids. So in Destiny, you level up, you get all the gear and then you do these amazing raids. They're very intricate, lots of mechanics, you have to work together. But in the Division, we didn't get anything like that. Like, the incursions were really disappointing. It was just basically a room. The first one was just a room we put in for hordes of enemies, and that was when we stopped playing. Like, when we realised the incursions just weren't what we wanted, what we hoped for, that's when we fell off and we stopped playing. We went back to Destiny. Now, Massive have said they're very aware of this, and this time around things are going to be different. But the only way to know that for sure is to wait and see what the reviewers say, and to hear exactly what the endgame content is going to be about. Okay, so if the endgame content isn't there, and Massive let us down on that regard, then I'll just wait for a price drop. But if the reviews are fantastic, endgame like content there ready, then I may well cash out and get it, especially if my friends are going to buy it. So I hope this has been informative and you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any comments about Division 2, are you buying it? What do you think about it? Did you play the beta? What are your feelings? Please leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think as well. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.